Hey guys, Wes here from Cross Armory. We're going to install the Magpul PRS Stock. It's real popular. We're going to put it on a 308, but you could also put it on an AR-15 rifle. And we're going to go into talking about generation 1 through 3. We're going to do the 3rd generation version, but the install will be the same depending on what kind of buffer tube you have. Okay, so we're going to install this PRS Gen 3 stock. And we want to use the quick pins because we're in a regulated state and we want to be able to separate our upper and lowers a little faster. Now in order to use the Gen 3 PRS stock, it comes with 2 versions of this little neck area, and you notice this version's got a bigger cutout than this version here, and that's because one of them is set up for this longer buffer tube. This is called an A2 or a rifle length buffer tube, and you can tell that you've got this because on the back there's a little threaded nut and there's a little ridge here, and you don't have a castle nut, so you can't use a castle nut with this. And this corresponds with the thinner cutout, so this will slide all the way in here, and then you're going to attach a screw to the back of this. We're going to start off by talking about what to do if you have an A2 or rifle length buffer tube. Alright guys, this is how to install your quick pins if you have an A2 or rifle length buffer tube. And you'll know it's the A2 or rifle length because it's got this little ridge here and it does not have a castle nut. So the biggest issue is that when you go to install your quick pins, when you go to screw this in, it doesn't screw in far enough to hold down the detent pin and spring that you need in here. So what we've done is we've developed the A2 spacer. Now this is unique to Cross Armory, but you can also use this spacer for other products. So for example, if you want a QD mount in the back, say you live in a free state, you don't need quick pins, but you have an A2 style buffer and you want a different rear end plate, you can use this to secure this buffer retainer pin here and add any accessory you want. So we're going to get into how to install this right now. So the first thing you want to do is if you're working with a whole gun, make sure it's empty and clear. This is just a lower, so you can't hurt anybody with this thing. All you're going to do is look at your A2 spacer, and there's a little ridge here, and what you want to do is make sure that this little ridge is facing the front of the gun. You'll notice that on the back are 2 little slots, and those are to help you walk it in the threading. So just hold it on here and start threading it by hand. You got to feel it out a little bit. There we go, we got it going. And as you go, you'll notice that you can use these little slots to take a screwdriver and walk it all the way forward. Now I'm going to use the magic of TV and walk it forward. Alright guys, we got the A2 spacer in here set up and close to ready to hold down this buffer retainer pin and spring. So we're going to put the spring and the pin in there, we're going to hold it down and then rotate this so that it's holding it down. So you can see that's now holding that down without having the whole tube in there. So now what we're going to do is we are going to set up to install our quick pins. Alright, so now we're going to install these quick pins on here. So we're just going to set them in there, use our alignment rod to hold the quick pins correctly in place. And then we're going to take our A2 and thread it on there. There we go. Now make sure that there's a detent screw inside of here. You want to make sure that's nice and loose so that it doesn't grind on this ridge here. So be sure to back that out a bit. If you grab the right Allen wrench. If you don't have the right Allen wrench, and don't worry about it, you just grind away, you know. Nope, not oh yeah, that sounds nice. All right, so there we go. That's nice and tight and on there, and that's still working on there. So we're feeling pretty good, and we're pretty happy with what we've got going so far. All right, so now we want to make sure we've got the right end piece of our PRS stock. This is the shallower cutout. The one for the adjustable tube has the bigger cutout. So this is for the A2 or rifle length buffer tube, the one with the shallow cutout. All right, so here we're gonna install this Gen 3 PRS onto our A2 or rifle length buffer tube. So when you slide it all the way in, you'll notice, oh man, it doesn't go all the way. Well, that's okay. We're gonna walk you through how to fix that. So basically what you wanna do is get a pen or marking device and kind of scribe this onto this area. Because what you're gonna do is you're gonna go ahead and just remove this much material from here. Now if you want to use this QD slot you can, or if you don't worry about it, you can go ahead and get real tricky. I'm just gonna take it straight away. So I'm gonna remove this material here in order to have it fit up nice and tight. So let me go remove that. Alright guys, so here we've got an exaggerated version of what we've done. So we start with a piece like this, and we go ahead and file it down so that it fits our profile. Now you want to file a little bit at a time, because if you don't, then you'll end up with a bigger gap and it won't be as clean. So take a little bit off and then set it up, take a little bit off, set it up, take a little bit off, set it up until it fits just right. We're just gonna run with this because it's in my hands and I can show you how to do the full install. So you take that part you've modified, slide it on here. Now filing it won't affect how it works or the functionality. It's gonna function and attach to the tube the exact same way, so you don't have to worry about filing and that messing with how it functions. So you slide this guy on here, go ahead and slide stock on the tube, and then you take the little piece here that is a QD slot that's built into it. Put the screw end on the other side. And we're just gonna, all the screws are on this side, so we just tighten this up. Now putting this on and tightening it up isn't gonna fix it in place. What's going to fix it in place is gonna be putting the screw in the back here. So in order to get to that back screw, you gotta take this plate off here. So you just unscrew these screws in the back, like this. There we go, that's off, and that'll expose access to this back area here. And this is gonna be what's attaching to your A2 or rifle length buffer. So you go ahead and take the screw that Magpul provides, get it in there. It's a little hard to get in, so you want to extend the shoulder rest until you can get the screw in there. Boom, now our screw's in, and then we're gonna screw this in. Now this screw is actually attaching to the back of the buffer tube that runs through the whole gun. Now this is securing the entire connection, putting this thing well attached. Keep in mind, this pinches it, but it doesn't fully fix it. You need to put this screw on. If you forget the screw, don't forget the screw. You don't want to forget the screw. So here we go, attaching it up nice and tight. There we go. And in order to put this back on, it's a little tricky. These little washers actually slide in this slot back here. So the easiest way to do it is to actually get the screw started on this washer. Just like this. So that's on there a little bit. This guy's on there a little bit. Okay, make sure you've got it oriented in the right direction. Take these screws and slide them up that slot. Just like that, and get this other one in there. Just like that. And make sure it's lined up and looks clean. Tighten that guy on there. Tighten this guy on there. Go. That's looking pretty solid. Real tight. That is good looking. Let's put our upper on. There we go. Got a nice FDE 308 running quick pins, nice safe mag, great little pin pal, and our PRS stock, nice cheek rest, great length on it. I mean, this is a fantastic setup. Right now we're going to talk about how do you install the standard Magpul stock with your standard MIL-SPEC adjustable style buffer tube that has a castle nut on it. So what I've got here is I've taken my upper off, I've removed my buffer tube, I've got my buffer detent spring and pin here, and the corresponding part that comes from Magpul. So this is the piece intended to go with this A2, or not this, this MIL-SPEC adjustable type buffer tube. See how it lines up real smooth? And the idea, if the quick pins weren't here, is that it would look nice and smooth just like that. Now, with the quick pins added, it tightens right up to there, but because we've got a nice QD mount here for you, what you need to do is you need to grind away some of this material. It's not gonna affect the fitment, and it's not gonna affect the function. It's just some plastic, so just grind away a little plastic to accommodate for this space, and then you might actually be able to use your QD right there, and you can hook everything up. So I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna grind a little of this off, and then we'll come on back. Okay, so went ahead and ground this down a little bit, so you can see when we slide it on here, it's pretty close to the shape we're looking for. So when this castle nut's tightened all the way down, it's gonna be real close. Again, you can just run it flat if you want. Just go flat with it and it'll just look clean and flat. I was trying to match the shape a little bit. You can also taper it backwards if you want to be able to access this QD hole. So to install it, of course, go ahead and get your buffer retainer in there. Hold that sucker down. Go ahead and screw this in. Wear some safety glasses so you don't poke your eye out. These buffer retainers love to pop out and just come right by your eyeballs. Anyway, that thing's in there. We're going to tighten this up. Now use the alignment rod for your quick pins. This is just for demonstration on this particular stock. So imagining we fixed everything up and our pins are functioning well and everything's good, which on this gun they are. Go ahead, take the piece that you've modified, put it on there. As you can see, fits great, everything's fine. This area you modified doesn't affect anything. Slide this on. If it's brand new, it's a tight fit, so you really gotta work it in there. But there we go, we're on, we're tight. So in order to tighten this sucker on here, go ahead and take our QD retention device that comes with it and slip it through there. So you can use this as a QD Just make sure you have it pointing in whichever direction you want to utilize it. So if your QD's on the left, put the basket pointing this way, other side, vice versa. There we go. Make sure everything's squared up. Hold the other side. Tighten this down. What this is going to do, it's going to pinch nice and tight. And lock everything in place. That thing is on there. Quick pin's running, and now you've got your whole system good to go, fully adjustable. I mean, this is a nice setup. And if we're going to put it all together, we'll just take this pin pal off this upper receiver here. Reinstall our buffer tube, or buffer. Reinstall our buffer in our buffer tube. There we go. Lock it all up. Make sure it's clear. It is. And quick pins are working great. And now we've got an awesome adjustable Magpul rear stop.